everybody. I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome back to Board Game Breakfast. Well. This is the week of Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio. So if you are going to Origins, we certainly will say the same things we always do. Come by and say hi to us. We have a booth in the middle of Hall D. We're doing a live show on Saturday, and all that information actually can be found in our Origins preview that we did just yesterday, actually. So go check that out. Now, there is no week in review this week because we didn't review enough games last week. We did a lot of other videos. Z's continue his top 100. I continue my 40 years of great games. We did our Origins preview. Sam debuted his new show, Throw Punch Launch. We did a talk back. There's a lot of different videos that came out last week, and there will be reviews coming this week. But the main thing that I want to talk about this week is the fact that we're going to be doing live streaming. Now, today I'll be doing a live Q&A at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so hopefully I'll see some of you then. But also this week, maybe Tuesday, but highly doubtful, probably most likely Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, or mostly Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll be doing live streaming from Origins itself. Now, I don't know how well it's going to work. Hopefully it will work well. That's our goal. Hopefully we have a fast enough internet connection, but we'll be learning we'll be recording all of it to bring back the episodes later. But if you want to kind of see what it's like to be at Origins, we'll have the camera and point at different spots that we can see from our location. And maybe you'll be there and you can come say hi to people live. So this will run during the day, likely from 9 to 5-ish over the course of each day. So anyway, that's our live streaming that's coming up this week. Next week, Board Game Breakfast will be a day late again because I won't be getting back until late on Monday of next week. So look for Board Game Breakfast Tuesday next time. Anyhow, enough of all this administrative stuff. It's time for news. Okay, first in the news, another world record was broken for most people playing Monopoly at the same time. 605 people in Singapore. Yay! The UK Gaming Expo, which we went to last week, has released their numbers. 12,636 unique attendees there. That's really a lot of people. That is as big as Origins has been. That's really great for the UK to have an expo of that size, and I'm really excited to see where it goes from there. They gave out some awards for gaming at the UK Gaming Expo. Isle of Skye, Star Wars Rebellion, Time Stories, Onitama, Ice Cool, all won awards there. Fantasy Flight has announced Runebound expansions. We got the Fall of Dark and Mountains Rise. One of these is scenarios and one of these is adventures. So more stuff being added for Runebound. The Wave 9 for X-Wing has also been announced. The X-Wing Arc 170 and Shadowcaster. Even though I know a decent amount about the extended universe of Star Wars, they have now gone into the realm of ships that I've never heard of at all. But still, it's cool if you want more X-Wing stuff. Indie boards and cards. You probably best know them for Coup and the Resistance. And Action Phase games have merged together. Well, more indie boards and games has kind of acquired Action Phase games. So the people working for Action Phase games will now be indie boards and cards. The Action Phase games has several small little games, some card games and stuff. So those will be interesting to see how they work together. And I would imagine we'll see more mergers like this happen as the years go by. DV Giachi versus Yoka Games. They lost a suit there. And this is a important piece of news, actually. And I'm going to talk about this more in Tom Thinks Later. So I'll come back and give some more information about that. Essen has announced that they'll be adding 2 more halls, Hall 4 and 6. Hall 6 last year was where they had their giant Settlers. They're record-breaking for Settlers of Catan. So that's a pretty big hall that they're adding. Hall 4 was a very small hall that they had 2 years ago. So anyway, either way, these 2 halls added together means a ton more vendors can go in Essen. Hopefully this will make congestion a little bit better to get around, but probably not. Just more people will come, I'm sure. And Dark Knight Dice Masters has been announced. Although this is the first Dice Masters we've seen that will not have starter packs. This will be boosters only. I'm not really surprised at this, other than that it took them so long to stop making a starter pack for every set. But there you go. Hey, that's all the regular news. Let's get to the Kickstarter news.
Happy breakfast, everybody, from Pirate pirates to robots, we have a lot to cover, so let's get going, eh? Catacombs and Castles is a new dexterity game from Elzra Games that can be combined with Catacombs 3rd Edition. Featuring more new awesome art from Kwanchai Moria, Catacombs and Castles has players flicking discs to avoid or leverage board obstacles to attack enemy discs. There are a few games that use this technique, but Catacombs is one of the best at it. Players can gain and use spells and equipment and battle with melee, ranged, or even rush shots. Catacombs and Castles has been designed to be played as a competitive team game or as a one versus many style game with specialized overseer role cards. And overall, it's pretty customizable to the player's abilities and the type of game experience everyone wants to have. Also available in this campaign is the Keystones and Keeps expansion with new heroes, lords, and minions, and this one will not be available at retail later, so you might want to pick it up now. There are a lot of pledge levels in this campaign, including some that will get you Catacombs 3rd Edition, but for the base game of Catacombs and Castles, it'll take a pledge of 59 Canadian dollars plus shipping. Also from Canada is Summit the board game, Mountaineering Mayhem and Killer Karma, which has players racing up and then back down a treacherous mountain. Summit uses triangular tiles as players build their route with different terrain types impacting movement and speed. While the game is competitive, playing nice can be a good thing because you can earn karma points, and when you have karma, you can spend a little of it to hinder your opponents or boost yourself using the karma cards. Each player's character has stats to work with, including speed, health, and weight, which matters a lot because more supplies means more pack weight, which slows you down. But the right gear at the right time could save you from catastrophe. The character designs look great, and there's an add-on cooperative and solo variant kit as well to mix up the gameplay. You can get a copy of the base game of Summit for a pledge of 49 Canadian dollars. Stackbots is a light card battling game that's already been published but is kickstarting a new red expansion deck. Players each have a deck full of little bots that all have different powers and strength. Players try to arrange their decks to maximize on the bots' abilities to whittle away at their opponent's deck because the player whose deck is depleted first loses. The mechanisms are dead simple, and if you play random decks, there's a ton of luck involved. But each card also has a ranking that players can use to deck build in advance, making the game a more strategic affair. Stackbots is light and quick and great for kids, kind of like a cute strategic game of war. And if you're unsure if Stackbots is your thing, there's also an iOS app version already available that you could try now. The game is published out of Europe, so a pledge of £8 will get you one deck, while a pledge of £20 plus shipping will get you all 3 Stackbot decks. The Pirate Republic is a 4X style game set in the 18th century that touts itself as being historic and realistic. This is a semi-cooperative game in which players must collaborate to complete missions, but also have secret objectives. Players will work to build up their skills and upgrade their captain and crew so that they can raid forts and capture treasure fleets. And while you may work together a bit to take down the European nationalists, this is a pirate game and you'll have plenty of duels against other captains. And you've got to love a game that has a swagger track. You can get a copy of The Pirate Republic for a pledge of $55 US. And Greater Than Games is bringing Exoplanets to the US. Already a successful campaign in the European market, Exoplanets has some clever component features and intriguing presentation. Players will manipulate planets within a solar system through terraforming, which will generate resources and help them evolve the planet's life forms. There are space tiles that can enhance your planet or may have a secret goal for endgame points. The game is founded in Euro-style mechanisms, but there is a fair amount of player interaction and take that in this game. Greater Than Games has kept the core of what people love about Exoplanets, but made some minor improvements to things like the player aids and rules, and also included an alternate scoring set for more advanced play. In the US, the base game takes a pledge of $35, but at the $45 level, you will also get the Space, Stars, and Gravity expansion pack. All right, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye, and until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Origins Game Fair, people. That is this week. And I know all of you who are going to Ohio are excited and ready to explode onto the gaming scene there. You're thrilled. You're pumped. You can't wait. You're going to get games your friends haven't played. You're going to see people you haven't seen from a year. It is going to be amazing. Last year was my first year, and I loved it. I hung out with Tom and the Dice Tower crew. I hung out with Secret Cabal. I met that kid Ian, who makes the rest of us look bad. I met some cool new friends. And I got some B-roll footage I've been able to use and reuse a lot since then. But, dear YouTube watcher, what does one do when one cannot make it to Origins Game Fair? What do you do when you're stuck being unable to enjoy the ruckus in Columbus? Well, I have a couple of solutions. Number 1, denial. Well, I might still make it to Origins Game Fair. Yeah, I'm probably going to make it. I'm definitely going. Number 2, anger. Ugh, I'm so angry that I can't go to Origins Game Fair. Ugh. Number 3, bargaining. If I could go to Origins Game Fair for just one day, I promise that I would stop cheating at Mysterium and I would stop bad-mouthing a few acres of snow. Oh, that's a lie and I know it. Number 4, depression. Number 5, acceptance. Oh, look what Tom just posted on Instagram from Origins. Huh. I accept that this is as much of an experience as I'm going to have this year. I accept it. Well, there you have it. Not everybody can go, but everyone can enjoy the coverage that the Dice Tower does of Origins Game Fair. So follow them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're going to have tons of videos on YouTube. It's going to be terrific. I, for one, can't wait to watch it. Thanks, everybody.
Hey there, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. In this week's episode, I got Quadropolis in the mail, and when I opened the box, 142 tiles were screaming at me to give them a makeover. I'm going to show you how I take one tile at a time and give it a makeover. Let me show you how I do that. I use GIMP, which is a free graphics program that has many of the same features of Photoshop. The first thing I do is search the internet for one of the Quadropolis tiles to use as a starting point. This monument will be a good one to use, so I click on View Image, then right-click on the full-sized image and Copy Image. I go back to GIMP and click Edit, Paste as a new image. I'll need to get rid of the current image, so I click the free select tool and I'll select all the way around the monument. Then I'll cut the monument out of the image. I click on the color picker tool and pick the blue color. Then I click the bucket fill tool and fill the area where the monument used to be. I click the smudge tool and smudge the colors together in order to provide a somewhat less obvious area that was cut. Now I need to go find an image to add to this tile. I searched for skyscrapers and found the Empire State Building. I click select and paste as a new image. I now cut out the parts of the image I don't want, which is mostly the sky. So I use the fuzzy select tool. I cut the selection and repeat this process until all of the area I want out of the image is gone. I copy the building image and paste it as a new layer into the tile. Pasting as a layer allows you to move it around and scale it as needed. I scale the building to fit the width of the tile and we have our first Quadropolis tile. I like using GIMP because it's free. And once you learn it, you can pretty much transform any graphic into anything you want. And Quadropolis is a really great game with a lot of standard images that are repeated. So this allows you to personalize Quadropolis to a game you want it to be with using images that you want in the game. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Hey, welcome to the 101. Well, last week was quite a shocker, at least for me. Doom beat out Dungeon Saga. And didn't beat him out by 1 or 2, beat him out by a good amount. Seems you guys think that Doom, which I'm starting to get a little bit of a feel here, and Descent, which is a descendant of it, are kind of really starting to pull away in this tournament. Well, we're down to 4 games. 4 games. And our first quarterfinal starts this week. It's a real big one because there have been a lot of votes, more votes for any other game that we've had in this, and that's Arcadia Quest, and it'll be taking on Descent. So this is a real heavyweight battle, and all your votes count. Leave them below in the comments. Go to my, email me at novaprime860@hotmail.com, or go to my YouTube page and leave some comments and let me know what you guys think. Also, Some people have been very nice, particularly Alan, has rolled over his Cool Stuff gift certificate. So this week it's going to be worth $20 for your comments. So really think about what you write down, and hopefully it catches my eye and I'll pick somebody at random. Well, I think that's it. We've got a real heavyweight battle on our hands this week, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. So I'll see you guys soon, and thanks so much for watching the 101. We'll talk to you later.
Hi, my name's Dave Adams. Welcome to Good Game, Better Gamers. Last time I shared a story about my uncle and aunt and the tensions that arose during a game of Get Bit. She was at the end of the line, he was right in front of her, and they kept choosing the same number, meaning that my aunt's piece kept getting bit by the shark. Now, she kept getting angry at my uncle even though he had no ability to know which card she was going to choose. To understand this situation, I think we need to understand something about the brain. Now, when we're born, our brains don't learn how to imitate others. In fact, the way they're designed is that we imitate others so that we can learn. It's how we learn to eat solid foods. It's how we learn how to walk. It's how we learn what foods are acceptable, what clothes to wear, and how to be people in this world. It's an incredible advantage being able to imitate others. The downside is that we never stop comparing ourselves to each other. And the big problem that comes out of that is that when we compare ourselves to others, we make bad judgments about how we're doing in comparison to other people. Psychologists call this compare and despair, because inevitably we don't make good judgments about how we're doing in relation to others. When other people's experience success, we want to experience success, so we feel bad because they're in a better position than what we think we are, and we don't think rationally about it. For my aunt, she was despairing over the fact that she was performing so poorly in the game when it seemed like the rest of us were doing so well, even though none of us really had control over which card she was choosing and how it resulted in her character staying at the end of the line. But it wasn't through any rational justification that she arrived at this position. It's more that compare and despair happens on an emotive and instinctual level, simply because it's part of what we do as everyday human beings in society. One of the things that we can do to help ourselves is to realize that the judgments we make in comparing ourselves to others is flawed, and the best thing we can do is just to be accepting and realize that all good things come to us in time. This leads into next week's topic of perceptive judgments. Until then, thanks for watching and enjoy your breakfast.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, most of what we're going to be doing this month is going to be live streaming from Origins. So you'll be able to see things coming from Origins this year, or this week anyway. But we'll also have several reviews that are going up this week. Z will continue his top 100. I'll continue my 40 years of great gaming. We'll be doing reviews of the newest expansion for Dominion. You'll see Guilds of London, Ice Cool, and several other games that I've reviewed will be going up this week. I'm actually really excited at some of the stuff coming up this week, so check all that out. Our podcast is going up this week where we look at the top 10 medieval games that will be coming out Tuesday. And I think that's pretty much everything. Lots of other podcasts from other great shows in the Dice Tower Network, and you can find all that at dicetower.com.
Hello, Chaz Marler of Pair of Dice Paradise here, and as you may know, one of the projects that I've been working on for the Dice Tower this year is a video series of my top 100 board games of all time. Or BGOAT, as I was calling it, till I was asked to stop by everybody. One of the challenging aspects of putting together this list are the games that I discovered I had to disqualify when I realized that I've either played them, just once or even not at all yet. They're still on the old to-do list, along with laundry and dishes, getting that surgical sponge removed. After encountering quite a few games that fit this profile, I decided to start a list just of them. Before I knew it, I was surprised to find that my list had grown to over 50 games. Yes, my top 50 board games that need to be played additional times or even just once. Another thing to add to my to-do list, practice getting better at naming lists. What I found intriguing about this list is that these are not just one-hit wonder games or games that I only played once because I didn't like them. No, these are games that I'm actually excited to play and that I want to get to the table again. Made me stop and ponder just what's preventing this from happening. Sure, there's always those times that a game that you're planning on playing gets preempted by another, newer, shinier game. But what I found is preventing most of these games from being played is just the challenge of getting started for the first time. When my potential opponents and I are poised with the possibility of learning a new game versus playing one that we're already familiar with, it seems that oftentimes we'll opt for the path of least resistance and ending up playing at least resistance. So, what's the best way to overcome the learning curve that prevents getting a game played for the first time? Is it as simple as scheduling game days that are specifically for introducing new games? Am I just making this too difficult on myself, and are there other techniques that you employ? In the comments below, let me know your tips for getting more of our unplayed games played, and hopefully that will help me whittle down my poorly named list.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another segment of Board Gaming with Colleagues with To Die For Games. I'm Mandy, the Board Gaming Pinup Girl.
I'm Tracy, the gaming maven.
And I'm Steph, the games teacher. All right, everyone, time for a team building exercise. We're going to play a cooperative game during
Lunchtime! So today we're going to be playing the game. Are you ready to play? Yeah, okay, that was really bad. Okay, so the game is by Stefan Bendorf. It plays 1 to 5 players in about 20 minutes, and it was published by IDW Games.
Just a quick sidebar about this game. If you're trying to find it on Board Game Geek, do a search for the German word Kannst, K-A-N-N-S-T. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Otherwise, if you search for the word game, you're going to find way too many results.
Absolutely.
The objective of the game is to play all the cards in the draw pile until it's exhausted. If you do, you win.
Every player will get 6 or 7 cards depending upon the number of players, and you must play at least 2 of your cards during your turn. You can play more, but when the deck is depleted, you will actually only have to play 1. There will be 2 cards, starting cards with the number 1, 2 starting cards with the number 100, and you're either going to go up or down depending upon which one you play. Together you're going to play cards to try to get rid of all the cards in sequential order. One of the good things about this game, because it is cooperative so it's hard, you can actually take a card that is 10 higher or lower, depending upon which way you're going, to go the opposite direction to kind of catch up a little bit and give yourself some extra breathing room.
And definitely no talking or telling secrets during the game. You're supposed to keep the cards to yourself, even though you're playing cooperatively. So overall, I actually really enjoy this game. I love the artwork. I love the dark look, the skulls. Really appealed to me.
I'm not normally a cooperative gameplay fan, but this one caught me, so I like it.
I'm a math geek, and I really love the number play in this game and the fact that it's cooperative. It's a fun game, yeah.
All right, so I think that we're ready to play the game. Okay, I was trying to channel my inner Heisenberg, but it didn't really work out, so we just better get to it. See you next episode. Bye.
So in the news, I mentioned a court decision between DV Giachi and Yoka Games. Yoka Games basically copied Bang with Legends of the Three Kingdoms. If you look at the two games, Legends of the Three Kingdoms is essentially a straight-up copying of Bang. It's just that they changed the theming and the names of everything, but it's pretty much a straight-up copying. DV was pretty annoyed about that, so they took them to court, and the U.S. court has resolved that, well, nothing is going to happen in that regard. They admitted in court that, yes, it is pretty much a straight-up copy, but the court has shown that you cannot copy game mechanisms. Copyright game mechanisms, you can only, basically you can't, as long as you change the names and everything, that's okay. Is this a bad thing or a good thing? Well, in my opinion, this is a good thing. Now, before you throw sticks at me. I am not advocating stealing. I think that what the Chinese company did is abhorrent. I think it's bad, and I think nobody should buy the Legends of the Three Kingdoms game. I think that's a terrible thing to do, copy someone else's work. However, this suit, had it passed, had it gone through, would have opened the door for many other suits of varying degrees. I still remember when Dominion first came out. Dominion introduced a new mechanism, the deck building mechanism. And I know that Thunderstone took that mechanism change, and many other games did. So now the point where no one says, oh, that's kind of like Dominion. But the first game, always people are like, oh, it's just like Dominion. But it's a little bit different, Arctic Scavengers. Just like Dominion, but it's a little bit different. Well, yes, that's true. But I remember even Donald Vaccarino saying something effective like, yeah, they all copied me. Well, that is true, but how much copying is legitimate and how much is not? Now, that's kind of a debate for another time, but I'll tell you what, if you allow that, then you can say, well, my game used cubes first and your game didn't, and we'll have people copywriting stupid little things that they put in their game, and we'll never see games grow as a result. Dominion is a great deck builder, it really is. But it added that new mechanism. Now we have all these cool things that we can do with games now, and people can use that. The first games, the Dice Masters, or there's that dice pool thing, and Orleans, and I'm always sure what the first game of each genre is, but when you see that new cool thing, and someone else like, ooh, I'm going to use that same mechanism in my game, I think that's fine. I do think that there should be at least some lip service to people when you kind of take their ideas. I'm not fine with the wholesale copying of a game. Now, that doesn't happen very often. Sometimes two games can be developed simultaneously. That may seem weird, but it happens everywhere. Movie theaters, two different movie studios will come out with a very similar movie. I remember when Armageddon and Deep Impact came out the same year. It's very similar ideas. It just happened to be that way. And it's possible that someone comes up with a cool idea for a game and someone else comes up with a cool idea for a game at the same time. I still remember even Carcassonne was not the first with tile-laying games. It came out with another tile-laying game at the same time. I believe it was War and Sheep, which did not do very well. Carcassonne kind of won that battle. But you got to be really cautious about saying, this is mine and mine alone. Now, how do we deal with this? What should we do in this regard? I think that as people, it's possible to call out companies and say, hey, Yoka Games, we ain't going to buy this. This is wrong of you to do. We're not going to get behind it. And if they do copy a game outright, there is game piracy where people, and happens most of the time in China currently, where people are taking whole games and just printing them. Like you can get Agricola, you can get No Thanks in these games that someone has just taken everything and reprinted it all. That's totally illegal, and you can get in trouble for doing that. But if you change the names of everything and change the pictures, you can get away with it legally. It is ethically and morally wrong, in my opinion. And I believe as consumers, we need to say, no, that's wrong. I remember a few years ago, there was a Kickstarter where the Kickstarter was essentially the same game as Guillotine, but they changed it to a serial killer horror thing. That's wrong. I don't think that necessarily they should get sued, but we should say you cannot do it. Again, I'm differentiating this between, for example, the company that's producing HeroScape, HeroQuest, illegally without the designer's permission, where they're taking the same names and everything. That's legally and morally wrong. Changing everything is technically not legally wrong, but it is morally wrong. So I believe it is up to us as consumers to call these thefts out to some degree, but at the same time we have to be very cautious because sometimes it is a natural progression of game design. And so you'll say, well, you took that idea. Yeah, but they took that idea and changed it so much that, yeah, you can see it came from that game, but it's a very different game. And we want to see that growth happen. And if litigation enters the arena and people can sue each other for copying parts of games, growth will be stifled. I mean, Magic the Gathering copyrighted the tapping thing, and I think that may have run out by now, I'm not sure. And so every other company is very careful to use exhaust and kneel and all these weird terminologies, but they do the exact same thing in games because that was a good mechanism. It was a good way to show that you have used a card. I'm glad that Magic the Gathering Wizards of the Coast did not go and take every one of these people to court because that would have stifled game creativity. So, using someone else's idea is an interesting thing, and I think credit should be given. It's not always, but I think it should be given and mentioned. outright stealing an idea and just changing the name and stuff, the courts have ruled that that's okay. But it's not, and you shouldn't do it.
This was Playing the News. Thanks for watching. Oh, if you're in that kind of thing, this week were the opening ceremonies of the European Championship in soccer. It's a finals of a tournament where the 16 best teams in Europe compete against each other to see who can call himself the best soccer team in Europe. And this year even they upped the finals to have 8 more teams compete. So if your team did not qualify, they must have been really bad at playing a stupid game that no one here in Europe is interested in. This week I'm playing a game, at least I think I have a chance of winning. This week I'm playing Super 11. In Super 11, players manage a soccer team, and you play for as long as you want, until a certain amount of time has passed, until a certain amount of goals have been scored. Gameplay evolves around rolling a dice and moving your players and the ball around the field, trying to score. What makes the game interesting is that there are some tactics involved. The board has some hotspots on it, and landing on those hotspots with the ball in your possession on your opponent's side of the field gives you an attacking card. And those attacking cards give real flavor to the game. Fouls, penalties. My son is 7 and he's really excited about the game. And he's even so excited that he's playing it with his friends. And that is always a win in my book. The game components are great. It all fits very nicely into the box. From all the soccer games that I know, Super 11 is my favorite. I suggest you check it out. My name is Dave Luza. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Hello and welcome, my name is Nils, Cyril's Brettspiele, and today in The Best and the Worst we are talking about Celestia from QSF Games. My favorite part on Celestia is by far the pure mechanism of press your luck. The captain always has to stay on board of this airship. However, the other people can jump off. What you're doing is you're rolling the dice for the next stage. Then you have to overcome these 2 things like lightning and this one here with cards. And before you flip over your cards, the captain must flip over the card. The other guests can decide to jump off here and take this treasure here, or gamble to go on further. There are 2 different decisions in the game. Decision 1 is always, oh, the captain has 6 cards, so it's very likely that he has this 2 symbols out of 4. But the second decision, and that is a far more important decision, is if you are the next player in line, you have to think about the ship will go here, and the next time you have to roll 3 dice. Can you match the next as well? Because as a captain you cannot jump on, so you have 2 layers of press your luck. Perfect. The only thing that I don't like on the game, and that's a tiny little thing, it has a little bit of a runaway leader problem. So if someone manages to go up to 25, there's a 25 on top. I laid out only a couple of them here. So the 25, he has a huge advantage and he will likely win the game. That was my personal best and worst for Celestia from QSF Games. See you next time. Nils, Cyril's Brettspiele. Bye bye.
Okay, so today we're doing my top 10 favorite dice that I have in my dice collection. And I have all kinds of weird dice, like for example this one here is a 20-sided die, but it only goes 1 through 5, so it's a 5-sided die. So that's a pretty cool die, but did not make my top 10. Here we go with the top 10. My number 10 is this 3-sided die. I always like the idea of a 3-sided die. This one here is kind of like a football. It also has rock, paper, scissors on it for whatever reason. You can see the 3 is written very thinly there on the die, but I just really like that. Number 9 is a round metal die. I have many different metal dice, but I like this one because it's an 8-sided die, and it's a little hard to read. I wish maybe it was easier to read, but I just like the idea. It rolls so well, maybe too well, but when it stops, it instantly stops and you can see the number, and it also just has some gravitas to it. If I'm playing a game that needs an 8-sided die, this is the one I want to use. Then I have this die here. This is a big steel die. I just got this one. It's a 20-sided die, but it's metallic and big. I probably can't roll it on wooden tables because it will probably damage them, but it looks good, feels good, and just very, very impressive. Then I have this another new die to my collection. This is a 60-sided die. Of what use is a 60-sided die? I can't figure it out, actually. A 30-sided die, there's one used in Formula D. But this one here is 60 sides. It's not nearly as round and rolling as a 100-sided die is. I don't know, this is more of a novelty die than anything else. Then I have these dice here. These are casino dice, but they're irregular. And they still roll pretty well, though. And in fact, I can't figure out like if one side rolls better than the other side, but they just look neat. Every time I show them to people, they're like, what are these? And everyone assumes that they're completely unfair dice, but as far as I can tell, they roll just like every other dice do. Then we got, I'm going to be biased here, and I'm going to show the Dice Tower dice. Now, I've always enjoyed dice that have a unique symbol on them, and I get mine done by Chaz. But I like Dice Tower dice because not only do they show the unique symbol, but they show the 6 dots on it too. Because one of the problems with unique symbol dice is you can replace the 1 or the 6, and you're never quite sure. And you're like, when you roll, you're like, is that the 1 or the 6? This actually tells you, and these are my favorite pair. These are pearl, white, and they just have kind of a luminous sheen to them. Then we have these are other ones I got. These are basically there's different gems that you can get. These are the ones I could afford. I couldn't afford the sapphires and stuff, but they just look really pretty. I'm a big fan of 6-sided dice. They're used in so many games, and these are some that I really enjoy. Then we have the 7-sided die. Now, I don't think this 7-sided die is perfectly balanced. It's pretty close, though. You can roll it, and if you roll it on the flat side, that's a 6. If it rolls up on one of the short sides, it just shows you at the top. So, for example, this one here is showing 3 pips. There's another 6. There's a 5. There's another 5. Another 5. Oh, I guess 5. Wow, look at all the 5s I'm rolling. And it's 6. Okay, well, it actually does. There's a 1. Okay, I was starting to worry I was rolling too many of the same dice. I don't know. I just like the way this one looks. It's colorful. I wish someone would design a game using a 7-sided dice. Double 6 dice. Oh, these were kickstarted last year. These dice are great. I would replace almost every 6-sided die in games with these because of how well, I just love the idea of them. They are 6-sided dice, but they roll better than 6-sided dice. They look cool. I can roll 2 of them and instantly see what it is. So, for example, here's a 7. They don't look like traditional dice at all, but essentially they are exactly that. And then finally, my favorite dice is the 5-sided die. I showed you the 20-sided one at the beginning. That was a pseudo 5-sided die, but these are actually 5-sided dice. They're very similar to the 7-sided, and I don't know why I like these so much, but these I know are balanced. These roll really well. For example, there's a 1 and a 3. That's a 4. And now I just rolled a 4 and a 4. That's an 8. And there we have a 2 and a 2. That's a 4. And a 4 and a 1. That's a 5. And there's a 5 and a 2, 7. And I wish there was some more uses for these, and I don't know why I like them. The green one's cool, but the blue one is sharp looking and good. It's hard for me to kind of gauge why this one's my favorite. It just is. So those are my 10 favorite dice in my collection.
Board Game Social, hosted by Dean Leggett.
Hey everyone, it's Dean with Board Game Social, and we're here for part 2 of the Boy Scout of America Merit Badge game design. Last time we left off right when we were going to start talking about prototyping and playtesting. So without further ado, let's continue forward. Once they're able to understand how tweaking the rules can change a game, then they finally get to sit down and design their new masterpiece. And one of the things that is so cool about this merit badge is that they have to keep a notebook. They have to keep a journal. And at the very beginning, they're going to write down what their vision is for their game. They're going to identify the median and the player format and the objectives and the theme. They're going to write down a preliminary list of rules and do little sketches of their game components that they might need. And once they have that down in their journal, they then ask for your permission to go ahead and start prototyping it. With their prototyping, they have to do play testing. They have to play test it themselves, and then they have to play test it with a group of friends or family or other scouts, however they can do it. And they have to do this a minimum of 3 times. So for these boys to be able to do that and then to make changes to their rules, it's really a wonderful thing to see. After they're done with their play testing, they then have to blind play test. All right, they have to print up their instructions, let people that have never played it before, they can't have ever played it before, see if they can play it based just off the written instructions. And they have to sit off to the side, and you can just see it's killing them that they can't jump in and help out. So that's part of the process as well. Okay, so that wraps up the inner workings of the merit badge and what you're expected if you're going to help with it. Next time I will do a final video on some tips and tricks and helpful hints that I've kind of picked up over the course of doing this merit badge. And like always, until next time, please take care of yourselves and your loved ones.
Friday, and Saturday, and part of Sunday, it was the UK Gaming Expo. And I, Matthew Jude, nice to meet you, I was there. Now, I'm new to the board gaming hobby, been doing it about a year, and I have been in the position before of explaining exactly what on earth board games are and why. Questions like, what, like Scrabble and Trivial Pursuit? I've played Monopoly, or why? And I'll admit, I've got nervous, I've clammed up, and I've shut down quicker than a mini-disc factory. Mini-discs are, doesn't matter. You see, my old answer was, designer board games. They're new, they're not like old board games, they're different, and most people have a hard time understanding what a modern board game is, or a designer board game. But my most recent explanation is called the video game response, and it goes as follows. Think about how much video games have changed in the last 40 years, from Pong to Grand Theft Auto 5 and all the Medal of Gear Solid 7, the Chocobo times in between. Now, imagine that comparable progress has been made in analog games. Those are the games that I like to play. This answer seems to intrigue people rather than turn them away. So, consider it for next time you're asked the question, why? So let me know the answers to similar questions that you've been asked, and I'll be with you next breakfast, where I'll be talking about why the Earth is flat, the Moon is a hologram, and Obama and the Queen are both lizard people. Not really. Well, maybe.
Today we're taking a look at the Easy Roller Dice Company dice tray. This is a 12-inch area dice tray. It's in the shape of an octagon, and even though our show is called the Dice Tower, I find that a dice tray is often more handy and easier to use than a dice tower. When you just roll dice in it, it has a nice felt bottom. I know my table here has a felt tabletop to it, but if you didn't have that, and I'm showing you all the dice that I rolled easier, but the walls here are just high enough and the padding is there that it's really going to keep your dice from bouncing out. So, I mean, I guess I could try. I'm trying to see if I can get a die to bounce out, but you really would have to be trying hard. You can see that this thing here deadens them as you throw them, which is pretty good. I mean, I guess if I really nailed it, I could get one out. Come on. Wow, that really deadens them. I'm like trying to bounce them hard. There we go. I finally managed to make one bounce out, but I was trying there. So for the most part, when you roll dice in these, they're going to stay in. This is a good big size too. You might not need one that's this big, but I really like how this one looks because it just has that, it just looks classy on the table. So it comes in a small box. I don't think I would keep it in a box. It is stored in a drawer, and I'm definitely actually going to probably hang on to this one because of how cool it is. That's the Easy Roller Dice Company dice tray.
Dear Asmodee North America, through obsessive price tracking and simple math, I have concluded that due to your recent policy changes, what was once a $38 game online now costs me $42, for a difference of $4. Here are all the things that I could have bought with the $4 extra I am now spending on your games. Number 1. A bottled water at a professional sporting event. Number 2. 4 giant sponges at my local dollar store. Number 3. A clearance bin copy of your smash hit, Fantasy the Family Card Game. I hope you're happy with yourselves for depriving your fans and our families of life-sustaining beverages at luxury-only overpriced entertainment venues. the means to wash our multiple automobiles in the driveways of our single-family homes, and the ability to battle for the title of Grandmaster of the Woods around our Geek Cheek dining tables. You must be very proud. Sincerely, the Out of Game Podcast.
And that's it for this week, folks. Once again, thanks so much for watching. I'm sure we'll see a lot of you this week on our live streaming. I'll see you today at 1 p.m. for some Q&A. Lots of cool things. I'm really excited about this. I'm always very excited. Anyhow, more coming your way. Thanks to all the contributors for the great job that they always do on Board Game Breakfast. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.